Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Jeff. Crazy night. My night's actually not over. Currently 4 o'clock in the morning. So we got some more information about Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 from the Ghost of Hope. Now, this information has kind of changed, and it's a little sporadic, so, like, this one, it's a little weird for me, just by the way that I've been hearing about it. 1 minute it's one way, 1 minute it's the next way, 1 minute it's for certain platforms and not the other. Like, I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see for some sort of actual announcement. I'm gonna hope that at some point they talk about it, maybe at COD Next or some shit. This is something that's actually been talked about for years, the FOV slider. Now, obviously, all of the people that are currently playing Call of Duty on PC, if they were Call of Duty players before, they were console players, and they were playing on 80 FOV like everyone else. That includes all of the pro players and shit, the CDL, everyone. I mean, people can sit there and make fun of, you know, pro Call of Duty players and say all this other shit about using a controller and you guys literally don't aim and all this other shit. But the reality of it is, at most, you're saying that these players are like on steroids, right? You're saying that the controller does everything for them, right? But here's the thing. They can still utilize this overpowered thing better than other people that have the same exact overpowered thing. It's like having an entire league of people actively knowing that everyone is on steroids. No testing, none of that other shit. Yep, this is what I use and this is how much I use. That's an even playing field. When you start mixing inputs, then that's where it gets bad. Also, for whatever reason, people tend to just include controller with console instead of just like controller as an input. They also count that as console. We've talked about this shit for so long, but basically we know that so many people, the majority of people actually, since the majority of players are on console, they want FOV. At the moment, you can't have any FOV on Warzone anyway, the most popular version. You do have FOV over on Vanguard, which I assume also runs pretty well, but also that's multiplayer. Multiplayer is obviously a lot easier to run. So I was expecting Modern Warfare 2 to have FOV slider for pretty much all of them, including the PS4 and the older Xbox. I'm expecting multiplayer to get it, but Warzone, I wasn't entirely sure. But the Ghost of Hope tweet, Warzone 2 will have FOV slider on old-gen consoles, PS4 and Xbox One, as well as next-gen consoles, PS5 and Xbox Series X/S. That's crazy. Like, that's actually crazy to me. Like, the way that I'm thinking about it, I'm happy that, listen, I'm happy that people are getting FOV. He also tweeted a couple hours ago, Modern Warfare 2 on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S equal big graphical improvements. What the fuck is going on? Honestly, I really hope that there are some improvements, because what is happening? I'm on PC. This is, I mean, the game's been out for years. I can't expect it to be perfect, but what happens when we start moving?
Capture and defend the hard point. When it moves, you follow.
What the fuck is happening? Repeating what Hope says, basically, the new-gen consoles and PC will have a big graphical improvement. If you're still playing on a PS4 or an Xbox One, he says that it's gonna be the same as Modern Warfare 2019 graphic. I'm gonna be honest, a part of me really doesn't believe that. A part of me feels like, look up gameplay on Black Ops 3 old gen. I'm just saying, Apex made some hilarious videos on Black Ops 3 on the Xbox 360. They made it for the Xbox 360 because so many people were still using the Xbox 360 at the time. Obviously, the big complaint at the moment is people talking about, you know, FOV and stuff like that, and I feel like it should be an even playing field across, you know, the board for most people, but also as content creators or even streamers, obviously, they're going to get the best of the best that they can possibly get, not just to have an advantage, but to just make the whole experience easier in general, right? Just more efficient in every way. More smoothness, faster edits, faster renders, all that other shit. PC is always going to be ahead of console, but if we can hit this even ground where console is at this point where it's like, you know what? It's not a massive jump, even though honestly, I mean, the top of the PS5, you know, at 120 hertz and whatever, even though they can't even do 1440p. Meanwhile, you got people like me that have a higher resolution, more frames, and now I'm still waiting to go and get new parts with either these new NVIDIA cards, AMD cards, new CPUs, all that other shit, in the middle of like a shortage. It's always going to be that way, but this whole thing where you're like, you're stuck at 60 FPS and 80 FOV, nah, it's gotta move, man. I was always more of a fan of like the whole idea of just add those options into the game, make them the best that you possibly can, and then at the end of it, just put a little warning. May cause graphical bugs, may cause visual issues, stuttering, blah, blah. Do you understand? If they accept and some shit happens, boom, you warned them. People are making all these jokes about PS4s like literally catching fire and taking off whenever people try to turn up their FOV and shit like that. And honestly, I mean, it's gonna be one of two ways, okay? Either they're gonna allow you to go all the way up to 120 FOV, right? No problem. You hit 120 FOV, cool, but it ends up turning on a stronger and stronger DLS or FSR or whatever it's called. You know how there's like DLSS settings that'll be like, you know, high quality, and then it goes all the way to like ultra high performance, and then on a high performance, the thing looks really, really bad, but it runs really well. I think it's gonna be kind of a thing like that, where if you turn up your FOV, they may implement some like DLSS magic, or, you know, the super sampling or whatever the fuck. All these little tricks and stuff like that. I feel like the higher your FOV goes, more that your actual visual, you know, information will actually be hurt. Yeah, you're gonna be able to see more, but it's gonna start getting to this point to where there's gonna be people comparing how clear it looks over on PC, and maybe even potentially on the newer consoles, versus the older ones. There's going to be situations where there's a picture of somebody on an older console looking at a dark corner that they can't really make out, or maybe they can see even easier through darkness or occlusion or whatever. Like, that's a lot for them to do. It really is. And the game is actively hurt in a way in terms of development, where they have to actually make the game work along with every single patch as well that comes out. You have to make all of that work on this old machine, and it eventually does hold you back. The thing is, when a huge portion of the consumers are still stuck on that console, understandably so. It was difficult for a long time to get one. A lot of people had also given up, and people have also found other alternatives. I know some people that would get better performance on their console over their current PC, but they'll still just be on their PC. I'm not playing Shoot House. I literally don't care how many times I have to join and back out. I can talk this entire time. There was a dude that left a comment on yesterday's video. He was like, dude, this guy just like talks more than actually plays the game. It's like, yeah, a lot of the videos, yeah. Sorry? What was the other one? He was like, can you stop talking about sports? It's like, dude, one of the biggest UFC events of the entire year. I could understand if you're complaining about me talking too much about a random fight night or some shit, about a couple fighters that other people don't care about, but I know about, or some shit like that. I get that. I understand. I think I got my point across well enough with the console things. I'm happy that a lot of people are getting the FOV slider. I'm just hoping that there's not going to be too many issues, and it's going to turn into another thing now, where now that FOV is no longer this thing that people are going to talk about, it's going to move to another issue, which, I mean, hopefully could also get addressed eventually, but it's just going to keep getting moved to the next thing. My assumption is either going to be visual fidelity, 1440p being way better than 1080p, because I think PS5s can't even do 1440p or some shit like that, not native. I think there's some sort of like beta or something for some people that need to do it or some shit. It's weird. There's like 4K, but it's like scaled 4K and not native. It's weird. They'll also complain that PC still has the advantage with like filters and things like that. Also, on top of the fact that obviously a lot of console players are getting to the point to where they don't even want to queue with PC players because of the amount of cheaters that there are. But we do have the anti-cheat. It used to be much, much worse, and yeah, I mean, we remember the old days. I'm not gonna ever let somebody sit there and tell me that somehow, some way, the hacking and shit going on now is somehow worse than the hacking that was going on before. So I made some predictions last night. I predicted Aldo over the Dvalishvili, but Dvalishvili ended up doing really, really well. Again, great wrestler. He controlled Aldo. A lot of people really thought that Dvalishvili was really boring. They got really annoyed at him, but I mean, he's just an insane wrestler, and his gas tank seems completely bottomless. So Aldo lost that fight, so that prediction for me was wrong. I did make the prediction that I thought Paulo Costa was going to knock out Luke Rockhold viciously, but it actually ended up being a really, really cool fight, some cool moments. Costa did end up winning, and Luke Rockhold ended up retiring, but I think Luke Rockhold got some fans from that fight, to be honest. There was a point in time where Luke Rockhold literally was sitting there, like, putting his hands on his knees, just sucking air. He was exhausted. They were both exhausted, though. They kept talking about the altitude in Utah being, like, this big issue. I think it was a combination of things. I mean, a lot of these guys fight at altitude and train at altitude all the time, but they were exhausted nonetheless, so Luke Rockhold's all beat up, bleeding. His nose is messed up. His mouth is hanging open. And he just looks at Paulo Costa and he says, "Fuck you." He just punches the shit out of him. That's some of the funniest shit I've ever seen. "Fuck you," throws a right hand. I love that. I'm happy Luke Rockhold kind of went out with a bang there. Had some funny shit in the fight, funny shit in his retirement speech, getting a whole bunch of respect from a whole bunch of people. And then we have the main event, Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman. I predicted Leon Edwards to win the fight. I expected Leon Edwards to win the fight, likely by decision, because, I mean, you can literally look at Leon's record. He's just got decisions all day. It's not like they're all boring decisions, though. I mean, you can watch the Nate Diaz fight. That was a decision, and he was beating Nate's ass for like 23 minutes. I was expecting Leon to maybe take like rounds 1, 2, and 3, and then maybe Usman will like come in, you know, the championship mindset, crazy mental fortitude. But no, it didn't work out like that. So first round went exactly how I expected it to. Usman was respecting Leon's stand-up, didn't want to, you know, play around with it too much. Felt a couple good shots, some good leg kicks and stuff.
Just too easy. Chopper gunner.
Wait,
pathetic with it. Yeah, he camped for a chopper gunner and it's still cost him a lot.
Gameplay. This dude was 32 and 52 talking about, at least I won. Eyeball hanging out of his skull. Anyway, first round went the way that I expected it to. Leon ended up winning. He won across all of the scorecards. In round 2, Usman started coming on, and it looked a lot like their first fight, where Usman was able to kind of press him against the cage and either try to take him down or at least hold him there. Leon did have a lot of success in getting up a lot, though, and defending a lot of takedowns very, very early in the first round and the second round. But once the third round came around and the fourth round happened, it was like, okay, this is getting kind of bad. Leon couldn't defend more and more and more. It looked like Usman's pressure was just going to crush him. Leon ended up losing rounds 2, 3, and 4. We're in round 5. Leon is currently losing round 5. 56 seconds left. Leon Edwards throws kind of like a baiting jab out there, and it's a very, very classic combo that people throw in MMA and kickboxing also, but it's just a jab high kick. And it works especially well on people that are parrying a lot, because whenever people parry, they move their head as well. Like they're pushing it out of the way, and just in case their hand doesn't deflect it, they tend to move their head and lean. Usman, being that boxing style with his big ass, you know, lunchbox hands and shit, when he's bobbing back and forth and shit, used to parrying over and over and over again. Leon got him to parry right into a head kick. He threw a punch out there and immediately threw a head kick and ended up knocking Usman out cold. One kick, one headshot, or the way that Leon Edwards said it, headshot, dead. That's it. What are these servers? This game is doomed. I'm getting killed. I'm sure you'll see the memes everywhere, but man, when Usman got knocked out, I mean, these memes are everywhere, just like the Masvidal knockout. It's bad, man. They got pictures of them side by side. They're both just, you know, spread eagle. That was bad. He more or less got folded that way. He just completely collapsed into his own lap. It was crazy. His eyes were wide open. Now, I've been choked unconscious before, and I've also been told a couple times by Alexis that sometimes I look like I might be dying in my sleep, but that's gotta be about as close to the Grim Reaper as possible, dude. That was just crazy. I was reacting for like, I don't even know. Like, I was screaming for a minute straight. After I'm done recording this, I'm just gonna watch more of it. Like, I cannot believe that. I'm gonna watch the whole fight back again. Watched it back a second time. I'm probably gonna watch it again. Fuck this. I can't even find a game. Just give me shipment, man. I don't want anything else. I don't want to think. I'm done. People laughed at me for picking Leon. I'm just saying. I'm only wrong like 80% of the time. The other 20%, though, there's some gems in there. I'm happy and hoping that this rumor is true and everybody just gets their FOV and we can just move on to the next issue. So everybody can just feel like, you know, I've been seeing a lot of people talk about crossplay being, you know, wrong and crossplay was a mistake and all this other stuff. And I really don't want that to be the case. I think gaming has gotten a lot better since crossplay. You know, there's a lot of issues that need to be ironed out in that process for every single game. And I just really don't want it to go back to this thing where, you know, more and more people are just separated by their systems, because if it's going to end up being a thing where PS4 people have a noticeably worse looking game than PS5 people, it won't then just be, you know, console versus PC. It's going to be console versus PC versus older console. There's going to be a discrepancy between even the console players now, where people are going to feel even more at a disadvantage. I want everybody to be able to play the game and it not be dog shit, you know what I mean? And hopefully this will be good. And in terms of like the improved graphics that they're talking about and fidelity and everything, I mean, I don't know how big of a difference that's gonna make. That crispiness is really gonna help, you know, figuring out, is that's the tip of somebody's head over this thing? Is it just like a piece of clutter or debris or whatever? Is it like a weird, you know, visual artifact in my settings or some shit, you know what I mean? Because for example, there's a huge step up between 1080p and 1440p, and there would obviously be an advantage for people that end up getting into the 1440p beta for the PlayStation 5, for example, whereas other people still only capable of going. There's more ways to split people up in this process, but I'm happy people are still getting the things that they need, so I hope it's true.